$5, and spectator fee is $5. This helps the Heart of Florida Youth Ranch. Questions, call 352-595-7100.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Pastor Tim Potter has been with us before. He's with us again today. He's the pastor of the First Church of Christ Scientist, and he has brought with him a pretty lady. And what's the matter? What's the matter with that? She is Stormy Falso. You are not only a former TV reporter, is that right?
And radio.
You've got the face for TV.
Oh, thanks.
I've got the face for radio. and you've done radio. And CSB after your name, what does that mean?
That means that I'm a teacher of Christian Science.
Oh, okay. And so we're learning today how to discover our relationships with God. So you have 3 simple questions you're going to teach us about. Mm-hmm. And there's a seminar tomorrow across the street at the college, right?
Yeah.
That we're all invited to? All right, let's look up at you instead of looking down at these papers and say good morning, Stormy. And good morning, Pastor Potter.
Actually, it's Tim Potter.
Tim Potter. What'd I say?
Pastor. Our church has.
We don't call you pastor?
No, really. Our the Bible and Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy is our pastor.
Oh, okay.
And so
okay.
we are democratically elected. Our members elect a first reader and a second reader, and so we read from the Bible and from Science and Health. So we don't have the title of pastor. But
really?
We're all lay people.
The Bible was in the news this morning. There was a passage,
Really?
Passage from Matthew, from Jesus, talking about how everybody's going to hate you as a Christian in my name. And the reason it was in the news was because of this other story about the claim that Christians were being, what's it called, genocide by ISIS and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it was interesting to see. You don't usually see a Bible passage in the news, but there was one this morning. Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what happened? You don't do TV and radio anymore?
No, I left that to raise my family.
Oh, nice. And where's your family?
We started out in upstate New York.
Really?
In the Albany, Schenectady, Troy area.
Oh, nice.
And we moved to Atlanta in about 2000. My husband's job moved there, and we really liked that,
Culture shock or no? Atlanta's not that different from Albany, is it?
Well, it is different, but I had traveled a lot as a child through the South. So for me, I think that maybe I was always a Southerner, just geographically misplaced.
Right. So an urban Southerner.
Yes.
Not a rural Southerner.
Well, actually, I enjoy that too.
You did?
I had a great time yesterday. I took a drive out to the Florida that I remember off the 4-lane roads and back in the 2-lane roads because it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, good to have you. You have a bright personality already coming through, right? So what are you teaching tomorrow? What will we learn?
Tomorrow we're going to be talking about how, what generally happens is people put off their relationship with God. They go, sometime maybe I'm going to get around to it. Maybe I don't really need God all that much because the important thing is being a good person. But to be a good person, you have to understand your identity. And people spend a lot of time trying to figure themselves out. And they think about themselves in terms of, I like this or I have this activity. But if we start with being the idea of God, recognizing from that first chapter of Genesis that God created man in his own image and likeness.
Yeah.
That kind of brings us to two things.
Do we misunderstand that? I've often wondered if we didn't translate that correctly, or we just don't get what that means.
Well, actually, in ancient Hebrew, how they did it is they would take similar words and they would use these words to give a fuller picture so that as they described things, it was really sort of that they used their words to build a sculpture of thought or a sculpture that you could see that made their teaching multidimensional. And it's very interesting because ancient Hebrew is actually a lot of signs. If you want to take a very simple way of looking at it, it's like they wrote in emojis, and then at some point they made those into words.
It's a good thing to compare it to, yeah.
Because the emojis were all things that they saw, like a shepherd's crook or a tree, and what that meant to them. But it was finding that common meaning. And so when it says God created man in his own image and likeness, male and female created he them. It's realizing that creation is much fuller, that we place many limitations on ourselves, when those limitations are things that we really should use to understand God more.
So did you have a breakthrough moment in communicating with God or communing with God?
I had a whole experience. I was very active, and my ideal day was get up and play around at golf and maybe take a college class, maybe play some tennis with my friends. I worked part-time, take another class, and I got ready to get up and do that all again. But one morning, that's not what happened. I went to bed feeling great,
right,
and then I didn't wake up for 3 days. And when I did wake up,
wow,
I couldn't move my arms or
what
my
happened?
legs. Well, the interesting thing is that my parents' best friend was a doctor.
How old were you at that time?
I was in my 20s.
Okay.
And he came over and he said, he examined me, ran some tests, and said, I can't make an exact diagnosis, but I was dying. And there was not a reason that was available then, and any tests that were run didn't really reveal anything. So my parents called a Christian Science practitioner, because they were Christian scientists, and they went to a practitioner, by the way, is a Christian scientist who prays with people about any problem they may be facing based on the teachings of Christian Science. So they called a practitioner, but they realized that my path was not the same as theirs. So they freely took me to 2 other doctors to be examined as well.
They determined that your path was not the same as theirs.
I didn't think that I wanted to be a Christian Scientist. I didn't even think I needed God.
So you were awake. The 3 days was over.
The 3 days was over, and I would be awake for a very little bit, and then I would be out again.
And they were talking to you?
They would.
Do you remember?
I don't really have a lot of memory of it.
Oh, really? But do you remember the 3 days at all?
No. I remember darkness. That's all that I can.
But it was like a blink of an eye, right?
To me, yeah, but mostly what I became focused on was, oh my goodness, I'm in a really rough situation here. My life as I know it, I want that life back.
Yeah.
You know, come on, God.
I like that life too you described. I mean, you hardly worked. It was like, it sounded like
well,
it sounded like you were playing tennis and golf and going to school. What a little part-time job in the afternoon.
Well, I actually had a lot of responsibility in that job. I was an office manager for my dad. He had a business, and that meant that I had to do payroll, I had to do personnel, I had to keep all of his drawings in order, and my dad was a very strict guy. He'd say to me, okay, in this job I need this file, and I would have to walk into the file room and go over to the file cabinet and pick it out without hesitation. And that was the way he wanted me to learn to organize my thought. And
so you were stressed out, no?
No, not at all.
So you were happy?
Oh, I was a happy camper.
You didn't want to die?
Well, at that point, after I woke up, I sure did.
You did want to die?
To me, I looked at it from 2 situations. It was, okay, God, we've got 2 choices here.
So you talked to God. So you had a relationship with God.
Well, it was me talking to God, not me listening to God. And if you know, I know it's very popular that people point out that there's the same letters in the word listen and silent. I didn't quite make that connection. I didn't get it. I
Desserts and stressed.
Yeah.
Same word.
Yes.
Backwards.
And desserts are wonderful. But what I found is that I kept saying, okay, God, here is my list of things that I want. If you're a God, produce. I didn't realize
Pretty bold.
Yeah, well, come on, let's go here. I realized that attitude really needed to change.
Okay.
And that's the course of the experience that I had. Because first of all, I had to figure out why to have this relationship with God. Why do this? Why say, okay, it's not my will, but thine be done? And how to see that was the most important thing that I could do. That it really, for me, turned life from, okay, I want to accomplish this, to, God, how can I serve you more? And that was the real basis of it. So as I walked through this, there were basically 3 components. And the first was figuring out why to have a relationship with God, which is we all need bigger help. Then how to discover this relationship, and then what's expected of this relationship. Because once you have an experience, people have had fabulous healings by turning to God for centuries. There's hundreds of physical healings that are recorded in the Bible. And since then, there are, probably millions of healings.
All the time. One thing I say, Stormy, is that, okay, I love biographies.
Ah, good.
Okay, and there's 2 types. Mm-hmm. There's the type that recognizes God in the life of the person, mm-hmm. and there's the type that doesn't, mm-hmm. even though if you're a religious person, mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be Christian necessarily, but a religious person will see God working in a person's life, even though the author of the book may not have acknowledged it, right?
Yes.
So, and I think we do that to ourselves. We either say, thank God, or thank my lucky stars.
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in luck.
The lucky stars thing, I know.
Doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I tend to think that if I'm not acknowledging the presence of God, if I'm not acknowledging that I serve and that I every good thing in my life comes from that relationship, then I'm missing the point of the situation. Because we all get distracted. The example that I like to use is that when we understand that we need to really focus on God, this is something that requires obedience and diligence, persistence, right? But it's kind of like when we go to the grocery store, and you want to go to the grocery store and you want to get one thing. Let's say you're going to go in the frozen food aisle and you're going to get peas. So you're standing there in front of the frozen food aisle and you're looking at the things and you say, oh my gosh, look at that, there's broccoli. No, you don't want broccoli, you want peas, but it's a green vegetable. And you don't look around and go over to the corn and pick out the corn and go, oh my gosh, I wonder how many kernels of corn are in this package. You say, it's peas I want, it's peas I'm looking for, you focus on it, you get it. But what often happens to people, they end up wandering around in the grocery store and they get home and they have 4 bags of groceries and no peas.
I do that.
I do that all the time. Yeah, I do it all the time.
But it's the focus of attention that brings us to, okay, I need to be disciplined about this. And it's all right there. It's all there. I read the Bible daily, and in addition to that, I study another book called Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. Mary Baker Eddy, of course, is the founder of the Christian Science religion.
Yeah, we've learned that from Tim Potter, Pastor Tim Potter.
Yes.
Could we take a break? I want to get back to your 3 days in a coma thing, okay?
Sure.
Was it considered a coma? No.
I have no idea.
Just a deep sleep?
It was a deep something.
Because I think we went on a tangent, and I want to find out what happened.
Outcome.
Yeah, the outcome. So we'll take a break and we'll be right back. If you are fascinated by what you're listening to, guess what? Stormy Falso will be across the street at the College of Central Florida in the Weber Conference Center tomorrow at 2 p.m. And this is all a seminar presented by our friends here at the First Church of Christ Scientists. Did I say that right?
Yes.
All right, we'll take our little break right now and we'll be right back.
Ocala's Got Talent, happening in May, but if you want to get in on the running, you need to apply. The dates are March 12th, 19th, and 26th from 10 to 6 p.m. each day, and the location is at Mojo's on Southwest 17th Street. Do you have what it takes to shine and stand out in what you do? Well, there's only one first place winner for Ocala's Got Talent, and it could be you. Audition fee is just $25, and spectator fee is $5. This helps the Heart of Florida Youth Ranch. Questions, call 352-595-7100.
Hey, I'm Gary.
And I'm Eric. Did you know that Red Eye Radio is on WOCA The Source every night from 2 to 6 a.m. and it's live?
That's right. No tape shows here.
We know that the news doesn't sleep.
And neither do we. So we're here with you live from 2 till 6 a.m. every weekday. Call us 866-90-RED-EYE. So join me, Gary McNamara.
And me, Eric Harley, every weeknight to discuss the latest in news and entertainment.
Right here on WOCA The Source.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need
too.
my seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, and a new spoiler, and a new
Yep,
trunk.
we can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show, too.
Well, as a matter of fact, join me, Matt Gibbs from Sunrise Automotive, every Tuesday at 10 for auto repair with personal care right here on The Source.
Hi, I'm Leah Caruso with Strive Rehabilitation, inviting you to join me Thursday at 11 a.m. for Health Matters. Ocala Health and Strive have teamed up to bring you the latest information on good health services available to you right here at home. This vital information will help you make informed decisions about your health. So don't forget to join me here at 11 a.m. Thursday. It's news you can use from Ocala Health, Strive, and your friends here at WOCA.
All right, 21 minutes after 11 o'clock, doing a radio show, especially when you're talking politics, you get challenged a lot. And I had a caller one time, and was challenging me, trying to make me prove that I'm an idiot, and said, "Let me ask you something." This is what he said. He said, "Let me ask you something. What do you believe in, science or God? What do you believe in, science or God?" And I said, "Holy cow, that's." If I say God, you're going to say, what a fool. What, you don't believe rain comes from condensation? If I say science, then you're going to say, so you don't believe in God. But the real answer is science is proof of God, in my mind.
Yes.
So in the name of your church, the Christ Scientist, explain that if you could real quickly, and then I want to get back to your 3 days in hell.
Well, this is how I view it, is that science is something where you have an expected outcome. And when we explore our relationship with God, that becomes something that we depend on as an expected outcome. Let me give you an example. Cooking is a science. If you start out and you have eggs, butter, probably some cocoa powder, and some sugar, and you put it in the oven, you're not going to pull out a roast turkey.
Wow.
Hopefully
that
you're
would
going
be a magic if you could.
Hopefully you're going to pull out brownies.
Yeah.
But
okay, that's brownie recipe. Okay,
yes.
I didn't know what that was.
But when we come to our understanding of God and our relationship with God, it is a science. It's based on God as a law of good.
Spiritual laws.
Yes.
So spiritual laws are as dependable, for lack of a better word right now, as science laws.
In some ways more dependable, because they trump the material laws, particularly as it expresses limitation and things that you cannot do.
Can I ask a question I've had about Christianity? Okay. And I don't know what you teach, but other people teach that if you don't believe in God, in Jesus, you can't be forgiven. That's what they teach. On the cross, Jesus says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. So those people standing around the cross at that moment are all forgiven, and they're all bad people. None of them believe that he's the Son of God. So why do they teach, and I'm not trying to be a hardhead if I'm going against what you believe, but why would Jesus say, Father, forgive them, and at the same time, pastors, televangelists will say, yes, you're not going to be forgiven unless you believe?
That's always an interesting question, because it requires, as I look at what Jesus gave to the world, what he taught, what he lived, what he practiced, was the Christ. But that operation, as Tim was saying, that spiritual law has always been in operation. You can see it as the line that runs from Genesis right through to Revelation. So in that, it's understanding that law is impersonal. For instance, 2 + 2 is always going to be 4.
Okay. Yeah.
It's impersonal. Do I think that someone needs to personally know Jesus? I think it's easier if you know that. I think it's easier to see through his example and his works how we learn to do that.
That's what I think.
But I think about the person in the middle of South America who's never had the opportunity.
Never heard about it, yeah.
And never read a book. Yet They can learn that as well. God's right there. God can teach them. God can
and does
because
they just do it like you said before with the language thing. I mean, it's different words.
Yeah,
different word.
Yeah, and I thoroughly believe that God's voice is heard where the human voice is not. It speaks to the heart.
What I want to do, I know we're running out. I love these kind of conversations, by the way, and Tim, you know this about me. So, okay, if you could tell us what happened after the 3 days, and also another thing I've learned when Tim has been in here before is that there's a practical application.
Yes.
It's not just all this hocus pocus, believe in this, believe in that, spread the water. There's an actual, I can use it in my life. I'm not going to be up against the Red Sea. I'm not going to have to part any water, right? But I might have to, deal with the death of a loved one or some other illness or something, right? So if you take all of that, and I know we have only a few minutes left, well, what happened? They took you to a doctor?
I was examined by 3 different doctors who said the same thing, that I would never walk again and that I was really dying. And in that time I said, well, doggone it, I got to figure this out. And so what I learned was how to discover the presence of God here and now. And I spent time, I read the Bible. I couldn't do anything else. I was sitting in a wheelchair, so I read the Bible from cover to cover. And over the course of this time, I read the Bible through about 3 times. And then I also started studying science and health with Key to the Scriptures. And what I found in that was that guidance and that understanding of being able to look out, and as like we look out the window here and we can see the sky and the clouds. What do I see of the presence of God in all that's around? It's taking statements like God is love. Everyone wants to think about that, but you have to really dive into it. You have to really think about it. You have to unpack the statement. What does that mean, God? Does that mean infinite? Does it mean universal? Does it mean all-powerful? What about love? What does love mean? Isn't love the real substance of being?
Love? Yeah.
Really unpacking these things and then looking for that in life, looking out and seeing it, maybe in a child's laugh, maybe in someone holding a door, and recognizing that that is the presence of God at work, and then embracing it and practicing it in your own life. How to be kind, how to be gentle.
So how did you use that understanding and get well?
I think that prayer, it's that listen thing, and it was being willing to accept the next step, even though it was hard, because my dad really kept challenging me. There was no room for complacency in healing. You have to be willing to take that next step.
What do you mean he challenged you? He said, come on, you can walk?
No, actually, something else. I had reached a point where I could stand with crutches and maybe walk a few steps. And so he said, well, come on, let's go skiing. So he took me up. He
that's a challenge.
Paid the owners of a ski area, because I had loved skiing from the time I was a little kid. He put the skis on my feet, the boots on my feet, and took my crutches and gave me ski poles, and a ski instructor helped me get out.
Oh, man. Were you scared that you would fall?
I was actually really excited about it, and I did fall. And I thought that all the progress I had been making might be swept away in just a few seconds. But that wasn't what I had been learning about the ever-presence of God. And so I reached out in prayer, right there on the ski slope.
Out loud?
No, just to myself. Just
internal,
quietly. And I asked the ski instructor to help me get up, and she said, no. I've called the ski patrol, they're coming. And I could see them coming. And so I begged her to help me get up, and she helped me get up, and I skied down the mountain to my father. And when he went to hand me back my crutches, I didn't need them again, because I've walked normally since then.
You showed faith.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's a story from the Bible.
That's a miracle.
Yeah.
Yes, and I do, and I continue today. My husband and I run half marathons, and
really,
yeah, we have a great time.
That's a whole marathon if you run them together too.
Yeah, I could run back. I'd be all set.
That's what law officers say. They say we have 5 attorneys. We've got 100 years worth of experience.
Exactly.
I like that.
You are awesome. I love this conversation. I wish we had more time. I'm looking at the clock, and I've got 15 minutes. So tomorrow, across the street, 15 seconds, not 15 minutes.
Oh, heavens.
Tim Potter,
Yes.
and Stormy Falso. Thank you both so much.
Pleasure to be here again,
Thank you
Larry.
so much.
Yeah.
Real quickly, a phone number to the church?
Oh, my.
694-2225.
Okay.
Is that right, Robin? Okay.
That's it. I looked
Thank
it
you.
up.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Radio, I'm Karen McHugh, saying the time has come to rally around one candidate for president. Dr. Ben Carson throws in with the Donald.
It's not about the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. It's about the people of America.
Carson